In the chaos of ancient China, when entire armies trembled at the sound of one man's name, there was a warrior so terrifying that even his allies feared him. And his enemies believed facing him was the same as walking into death itself. That man was Lu Bu, the warrior history would remember as the strongest fighter of the Three Kingdoms era, a man whose strength was so unnatural that legends claimed no general alive could survive him in single combat. But Lu Bu was far more than a powerful warrior swinging a halberd on the battlefield, because behind the myth was a man shaped by betrayal, ambition, and the endless hunger for power. And by the end of this story, you will understand how one man became the most feared warrior in China, why kings trusted him despite knowing his nature, and how the strongest warrior alive ultimately fell not because of weakness, but because of the choices he made. To understand Lu Bu, you have to begin before the wars that shattered China, during the dying years of the Han Dynasty, when corruption had poisoned the empire from its core and rebellion was spreading across the land like wildfire. The imperial court was collapsing under its own greed. Eunuchs manipulated emperors, warlords rose in every province, and ordinary people suffered under endless taxation and violence. It was in this world that Lu Bu emerged, a warrior born in Bing Province, known from a young age for his extraordinary skill in horseback combat and archery, possessing strength and reflexes that seemed almost superhuman. What made Lu Bu different from every other warrior of his time was not just his ability to fight, but the sheer scale of his talent. Ancient records and later retellings describe him as a master of the halberd, a weapon that demanded immense strength and precision, and his skill with it became so famous that his weapon, the Fangtian Huaji, became almost as legendary as the man himself. Riding atop the famous red hare, the horse said to run like the wind itself, Lu Bu became a symbol of unstoppable force, and people began repeating a saying across the land: among men, Lu Bu; among horses, red hare. But Lu Bu's rise to fame began under one of the most dangerous men in China, the warlord Ding Yuan, who recognized Lu Bu's unmatched potential and brought him into his ranks. For a time, Lu Bu served loyally, earning a reputation as a battlefield monster. But in the year 189, China changed forever when the tyrant Dong Zhuo marched into the capital Luoyang and seized control of the emperor himself. Dong Zhuo was brutal, unpredictable, and hungry for total control, and he quickly saw what Lu Bu represented: raw military power. But Dong Zhuo understood something deeper about Lu Bu, something many others would later learn too late, and that was that Lu Bu's loyalty could be bought. So Dong Zhuo offered him wealth, power, and the legendary red hair, and Lu Bu made the decision that would define his reputation forever. He murdered his own adoptive father, Ding Yuan, and joined Dong Zhuo. That betrayal shocked China, but it also revealed the terrifying truth about Lu Bu. He was loyal only to opportunity. Under Dong Zhuo, Lu Bu became even more feared. When the coalition of warlords formed to overthrow the tyrant, Lu Bu stood at the front lines as Dong Zhuo's greatest weapon. It was during the legendary battles at Battle of Hulao Pass that Lu Bu's name became immortal. There, facing the combined strength of the coalition, Lu Bu fought with such overwhelming force that no one could stop him. Warriors charged him and fell. Generals attacked and were thrown back. In later legendary retellings, even the great brothers Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei had to combine their strength just to match him, creating one of the most iconic battles in Chinese storytelling. Whether every detail happened exactly as told is debated, but what mattered was the legend. Lu Bu became the measuring stick for martial strength itself. Yet the same flaw that raised him would soon destroy his master. Dong Zhuo ruled through fear, but fear creates enemies, and eventually even those closest to him began plotting his death. Among them was the minister, Wang Yun, who understood Lu Bu's greatest weakness, emotion. Through manipulation, politics, and in later stories the involvement of the famous beauty Diao Chan, Wang Yun turned Lu Bu against Dong Zhuo. And once again, Lu Bu betrayed the man who trusted him. In 192, Lu Bu assassinated Dong Zhuo, striking down the most powerful tyrant in China and instantly changing the balance of power. For many, Lu Bu became a hero for ending Dong Zhuo's cruelty, but for others, his second betrayal proved he could never truly be trusted. He had now killed two fathers, both men who had raised him. That stain would follow him forever. After Dong Zhuo's death, Lu Bu entered the most unstable phase of his life, drifting from alliance to alliance, constantly seeking land, power, and recognition, but never building the political foundation necessary to hold it. He fought warlords, seized cities, lost territories, and betrayed allies in a cycle that repeated again and again. Unlike men like Cao Cao, who understood governance and strategy, Lu Bu understood only warfare, and warfare alone could not build a kingdom. His greatest opportunity came when he seized Shu province, gaining a strong territorial base and a chance to establish himself as a true ruler. But Lu Bu's leadership exposed his fatal weakness. He was indecisive in politics, easily influenced by advisors, and unable to maintain loyalty among his own officers. Men followed him because they respected his strength, but strength alone is fragile when trust does not exist. Then came the final storm. In 198, Lu Bu found himself trapped in the city of Xiapi as Cao Cao launched a full-scale campaign to destroy him. This was not just another war. Cao Cao understood Lu Bu better than anyone. He knew that fighting Lu Bu head-on was dangerous, so instead he attacked strategically, cutting supply lines, surrounding the city, and using engineering tactics to flood the defenses. It was the beginning of the end. Inside Xiapi, Lu Bu's own men had begun losing faith. The man who had betrayed so many now faced the inevitable consequence of betrayal. No one trusted him enough to stand until the end. As Cao Cao tightened the siege, Lu Bu's officers turned against him, opening the gates and delivering the strongest warrior in China to his enemy. Captured and brought before Cao Cao, Lu Bu did what shocked everyone. The fearless warrior begged for his life and offered his service, promising that with his strength and Cao Cao's leadership, together they could conquer all of China. For a moment, Cao Cao considered it. After all, having Lu Bu as an ally would mean possessing the deadliest weapon in the world. But then one man spoke. Liu Bei reminded Cao Cao of Ding Yuan and Dong Zhuo, the two masters Lu Bu had already betrayed and murdered, and with that reminder, Cao Cao understood the truth. A weapon that turns on its owner is more dangerous than useful. Lu Bu was sentenced to death. And so, in the year 199, the strongest warrior in China was executed. Not on the battlefield, not in glorious combat, but as a prisoner, abandoned by the very loyalty he had spent his life destroying. And that is what makes Lu Bu's story so powerful even today, because his life is the ultimate contradiction. In combat, he was nearly unbeatable, a warrior so dominant that his legend survived for nearly 2,000 years, inspiring novels, games like Dynasty Warriors, films, and endless retellings. Yet, in leadership, trust, and loyalty, he failed where lesser warriors succeeded. Lu Bu proved that strength can win battles, but character determines whether victory lasts. His horse, Red Hair, became legendary. His halberd became iconic. His name became synonymous with raw power. But his empire vanished because power without loyalty is temporary, and fear without trust eventually collapses. That is why Lu Bu remains unforgettable, not because he was the strongest, but because he showed the world that even the mightiest warrior can be destroyed by the weaknesses inside himself. If you enjoyed this story and want more deep dives into the warriors of the Three Kingdoms, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments this. If Lu Bu had stayed loyal to one master, do you think he could have conquered China? And if you want the story of the warrior many called the true god of war, the man whose loyalty made him a legend, then the next video will uncover how Guan Yu became one of the most worshipped warriors in human history. Until then, remember this: history does not always reward the strongest man. Sometimes it rewards the one who can be trusted when strength alone is no longer enough.